Regarding the exchange of prisoners, Ukraine submitted lists for exchange, formed in accordance with clearly defined categories agreed upon during the negotiations in Istanbul. Seriously wounded, seriously ill, according to the formula, all for all, as well as young servicemen. The Russian side submitted other lists that do not correspond to the agreed approach. Ukraine provided relevant comments, and the next step is currently expected from the Russian side. As for the repatriation of the bodies, an agreement was indeed reached. The date was not agreed upon. Instead of consistently implementing the agreed algorithm, the Russian side resorted to unilateral actions that were not agreed upon within the framework of the joint process. Unfortunately, instead of constructive dialogue, we are once again faced with manipulation and attempts to use sensitive humanitarian topics for informational purposes.
On June 7, the Ukrainian Air Force conducted a successful operation in the Kursk direction, as a result of which Russian Su-35 fighter has shot down. Together for Victory, the official page of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in Telegram reads, Ukraine struck the last blow to Russian aircraft on June 1. Then, during the operation of the Ukrainian Border Guard Service, more than 40 targets were destroyed, including strategic enemy aircraft. We have a video of the downed aircraft. Russian drivers were not involved in the special operation of the Security Service of Ukraine. This was stated by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. He noted that the truck drivers were simply following the route, and they didn't even suspect what kind of cargo they were carrying.
Russian drivers who had no idea.
They didn't know.
They didn't
The drivers didn't know what they do.
In Russia itself, everything is going according to plan, so to speak. They are already thinking about how and where to install drone ports. Russian officials spoke about this at a meeting with Putin. Vice Prime Minister Vitaly Savelyev proposed to install 20 such drone ports by the end of the year.
The industry and trade decided to develop not only a network of landing sites, but also mobile drone ports. As of May of this year, 31 drone ports have already been installed in 8 regions. By the end of the year, we plan to install at least 20 more drone ports. Such a solution will reduce the amount of capital costs for the construction of landing sites, developing the market for base services.
President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, commented on Donald Trump's recent words that the war in Ukraine looks like a children's games where 2 children are fighting in the park. And that supposedly in such a case, the children should be given the opportunity to fight a little and then separate them. To this position of Trump, Volodymyr Zelensky replied that it is very difficult to assess the scale of tragedy when one doesn't live in Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky said this in an interview with ABC News.
President Zelensky, you speak so powerfully about the loss in your country and what your people have suffered. Do you think the president is getting that message when he says things like it's 2 children fighting?
Zelensky then telling us, and the president who is not living here, and it's not about President Trump, it's about any person who is not here in the country, who is some thousands of miles away, cannot feel fully and understand this pain. And this is why we are not kids with Putin at the playground in the park. This is why I am saying he is a murderer who came to this park to kill the kids.
I would like to note that the rhetoric regarding the child's game was also responded to in Russia. Peskov noted that this war allegedly concerns Russian national interests. In addition, the spokesman for the Russian dictator said that Russia allegedly made a number of diplomatic efforts which were rejected.
Here, of course, there can be a point of view on this. For us, this is a central issue. This is a matter of our national interests. This is a question of our security in the future, our and our children's, the future of our country. which is why a special military operation is being carried out after all possibilities for resolving problems by political and diplomatic means have been exhausted, and they were. Exhausted after all our initiatives were completely rejected by the Westerners.
Meanwhile, the Russians continue to carry out their terroristic attacks on the territory of Ukraine. After a massive missile and drone attack, the Russians struck the Kharkiv region. They dropped 54 drones, 4 guided aerial bombs on the city. They used 1 missile. The attack killed 3 people, injured 17, including 2 children. Ukrainian rescuers showed a video of the liquidation of the consequences of the strike on Kharkiv. Trump will apply sanctions against Russia if necessary. He said this during a conversation with journalists. Traditionally, the American president noted that the war continues to drag on. However, the final decision, of course, remains with him, with Trump. And this is true. It is important that the American president clearly realizes that Russia's ability to wage this war directly depends on these sanctions.
If I think Russia will not be making a deal or stopping the bloodshed, 5 and 6 even, I've been saying 5 and 6 and now it's more, 1,000 a week, soldiers being killed and people being killed, not just soldiers, people being killed, but largely soldiers being killed. Yeah, I'd use it if it's necessary. And they really give me that option.
Are you trying to get the Senate to water it down, though, from its current version?
I haven't spoken about it. They have a bill. It's going to be up to me. It's my option. They've made it that way. And it would save a lot of time if that happened. So I'm okay with it. I haven't decided to use it. It's a very strong bill.
The Speaker of the US Congress, Michael Johnson, noted that support for the introduction of the Torah sanctions against Russia is growing. He himself spoke quite favorably about the bill itself. There are many members of Congress who want to impose the Torahest possible favorably sanctions against Russia. And I'm a supporter of this. Michael Johnson told this to the reporters. I would like to remind our viewers that in March, Senator Lindsey Graham introduced the anti-Russian sanctions bill. According to this bill, the US will impose a 50% duty on all goods supplied to America from countries that buy Russian oil and gas. In fact, such a tariff is a ban on exporting anything to the US. This would be a very serious blow to Russia. After adopting on the law, no country in the world would want to buy Russia energy resources so as not to lose access to the American market. If the bill is passed, it will be the most powerful sanctions blow against Russia since the start of the war. Recently, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz visited the United States. He met with Trump at the White House. Among other things, Friedrich Merz also held talks with senators. Merz noted that, unfortunately, high-ranking officials in the United States do not realize the real scale of the rearmament that Russia is currently conducting. Merz also added that the only victim in this war is Ukraine. It is important in no case to shift the emphasis and not try to look at the Russian-Ukrainian war with any understanding on the aggressor.
Ukraine is the victim of a very hard aggression, and this aggression is coming from Russia only. And Russia has it in his own hands to stop this war immediately. They could stop it overnight. So and that's the reason why I asked the president to go along with us